Well, hey, good morning. This is Joe Van Cleve. Welcome to my little compact, crowded little dark room that I've had for years in the corner of my garage. You can't tell right now, but it's pretty cold out here. The temperature, the thermometer on the wall is measuring about 46 degrees, so it's kind of nippy out here. This morning's video, I want to talk about some of the little tricks I've discovered for making compact dark rooms a little more usable. Now, if you're processing prints to, let's say, 8 by 10 inch size, you're going to be using at least an 8 by 10 inch tray. More likely, you might be using an 11 by 14 inch tray for your process chemicals, and you're going to have at least 3 trays, usually 4. Your developer, stop bath, fixer, and then a rinse. And if you have a compact darkroom like I do, this one is 6 foot by 6 foot, you're going to find yourself really limited in space trying to fit at least 4 big trays in there and making it workable and usable. So over the years, I've tried to figure out ways of making these compact darkrooms a little more usable. And what I've discovered works pretty well for me is the use of, instead of photographic type processing trays, what I'm using are these 3-drawer plastic storage cabinets that you can get from places like Walmart, for instance. And let me show you how I use these. First of all, what I want to point out to you is that in the old days, before I knew any better, I would use developer, stop bath, fix, and rinse. Then I started using a little Jobo tank for doing direct positive Harman paper prints in really small quantities of chemicals. And in order to make those small quantities of chemicals last, I discovered that I needed to have a water rinse between the developer and the stop bath, and then another water rinse between the stop bath and the fixer. And this helped to prolong the lifespan of the stop bath and the fixer. And so when I discovered using these 3-drawer file cabinets, I figured out, hey, if I got 2 of them, I could have enough trays or drawers for all of the various process steps, including the rinses. And so what I have here is I have a developer tray, I have a rinse 1 tray, which is the rinse between developer and stop bath. The stop bath is down here. And then on this one I have the rinse 2 tray. The rinse 2 is just the rinse between the stop bath and the fixer. The fixer is here. And then I have the rinse 3 tray, which is the final rinse. It's like a holding bath where I put in a rinse aid, and the prints can sit in here and rinse. So this works pretty well as a method of processing 8 by 10 inch prints while you can preserve the lifespan of your chemistry a little bit more. What I'd like to do now is show you and demonstrate just in dry fashion without any liquid in the trays, but I want to kind of demonstrate for you how I actually use these trays for processing. So panning down once more to the trays, you'll notice first of all that on the top of the trays I have several large like jug-like containers. These are simply weights. So if you have 2 trays of liquid pulled out simultaneously, it's going to tip over and dump chemistry all over you. So you need something heavy enough to weight down the back of the tray. You could use a brick, you could use anything that's heavy. The second thing is, I have dedicated chemical tongs. I have a dedicated developer tong, a dedicated stop bath tong, and a dedicated fixer tong. They're each in their own dedicated little cups that I use them for. So, as an example, I have an old test print from years ago, and let's just assume that this is a freshly exposed print from my contact printing or my enlarger. I'm going to start by opening the developer tray. I'm going to slip the print in face down, and then I'll start agitating it back and forth while I start my timer going. And I want to make sure that the print stays immersed in the developer liquid. I usually develop for about 2 minutes, typically. So when you get to about a minute and a half or so, I'm going to open up the rinse 1 tray halfway, and using the developer tong, I'm going to pull out the print right about maybe 10 seconds before the end of processing. I'm going to let it drip into the developer tray, and then when the processing time is up, I'm going to slip it face down into the rinse 1 tray. Now I can go ahead and close this and kind of do an initial agitation on it. Then I'm going to open up the stop bath tray halfway, and using the developer tong, I'm going to pull out the print out of the rinse 1 chemical, which is water. I'm going to let it drip off a few seconds, and then without getting the tong contaminated with stop bath, I'm going to put it into the stop bath tray. I can start it agitating a little bit. I usually do a stop bath for about 30 seconds. While it's processing in the stop bath, I pull out the rinse 2 tray for about halfway. I'm going to now use the stop bath tong. I'm going to open up the stop bath tray. I'm going to pull out the print. I'm going to let it drip for a few seconds, and then I'm going to slip it into the rinse 2 tray. I can then close both trays. I can do a little agitation on the rinse 2, which is water. Then I'm going to pull out the fixer drawer about halfway. I'm going to take the stop bath tong. I'm going to remove the print from the rinse 2 tray. I'm going to let it drip a few seconds, and then I'm going to slip it into the fixer tray face down. I'll start the timer going for 2 minutes for the fix, and I'll start agitating it, and I typically will agitate the fixer, the print in the fixer continuously. I make sure I go backwards, side to side, as well as back and forward. I make sure that the print stays immersed in the fixer. So I typically fix for 2 minutes, so about a minute and a half or so. I'm going to pull out the rinse 3, which is the final rinse. I'm going to use the fixer tongs. I'm going to pull the print out of the fix about 10 seconds before the 2 minutes is up. Let it drip. Then you can slip it into the final rinse tray and let it rinse there while you're processing more prints in your darkroom. So this little technique of using these 3-drawer file cabinets has worked for me really good. I also have, I'll move off camera here and show you that I have another set, a smaller set of cabinets that works for 4x5 and smaller size prints. And this particular stack of trays is small enough that I can use in my little portable glove box, portable darkroom box for doing 4x5s. Okay, so one other point that I need to clarify is you might be wondering how you're going to clean those drawers out of chemistry after you're done processing your prints. You know, it looks kind of like it would splash around really easy and stuff. So let me pan the camera down, and I will demonstrate for you the basic way that I will clean these trays out. So you'll notice, of course, the drawers pull out, but if you carefully push in on the sides of the drawer near the back, you can actually remove each tray. And this particular model of tray, there's like a little cutout around the handle part. So, you know, if your storage container of chemistry over the sink, you're just going to gently pour the chemistry out of the tray back into your storage container like that. And then I go ahead and I rinse the tray thoroughly under running water, inside and out, all the edges and sides and everything. And then I typically will store the trays while they're drying. I'll store them upside down on top of the box in sort of alternating fashion. I'll also take the box itself. Once the trays are all out of it, I'll take it and I'll use a veggie sprayer and I'll hose off all the inside little slots just to get the remaining chemistry out of there. But because each tray is dedicated for a particular chemical, the amount of rinsing that you need to do on your dishes here is pretty minor. You just need to get the residual off there. And so that's how you keep these trays clean. Well, okay then, I hope that was nice and informative for you. That gives you some ideas on how to work a little more efficiently in a very crowded, compact darkroom, and have a good day.